We are so excited to share our newest mom podcast with you.
With my season 5 sister and our dear, dear friend,
the amazingly talented and massively entertaining
Jinkx
Monsoon.
Let's welcome her to the Mom Podcasts family with her brand new show. Hi, Jinkx. The wickedly talented Jinkx Monsoon. We love this show. Listen, it's a different vibe for mom shows, okay? Each week, Jinkx will be talking with amazing entertainers, comedians, inspiring artists, all about their lives, their careers, and everything in between.
Stories from touring shows, fun celebrity encounters, and just really great conversations.
Do you have a celebrity crush? Jinkx wants to know. Well, do you?
Do I?
I do. Henry Cavill.
My celebrity crush is probably... You'll have to tune into Jinkx's show because I'm going to be a guest on it! Jinkx wants to know. So here's a little preview of the first episode of Hi, Jinkx! And we are so happy for our sister to be on our network and happy for you to hear it.
Yes, make sure you search for Hi, Jinkx! Wherever you listen to podcasts, and after you listen, leave a review and rate our dear sister friend 5 stars because she deserves it.
Forever. Dog.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jinkx Monsoon, and welcome to Hi, Jinkx, a podcast where I, an internationally tolerated drag superstar, get to interview compelling and fascinating people about how they became who they are and why they do what they do. Today, we are joined by comedian, actor, writer, and cruise ship circuit party enthusiast, Joel Kim Booster.
Oh my God, what
Hi,
an intro.
Joel.
Hi, Jinkx.
How are you today?
I'm humiliated by that intro. But
I didn't write it.
Honored and humiliated at the same time.
I didn't write it, but
No lies
I'm
detected.
certainly going to probe you about it.
Great. Just like I was on the cruise ship. Like the last one I went on was like 6,600 gay men on the same boat, all working together to smuggle drugs into the same place. And it was just amazing. That one actually was crazy because we were getting on the boat and they shut down. There was a bomb. One of the bomb dogs started freaking out. And so they shut down the entire port. And then once we finally got on the boat, we found out the reason the bomb dog freaked out is because a lesbian tried to sneak on a decommissioned landmine as a prop for the dog tag party. And so the bomb dog freaked out, obviously, because it's a literal bomb that she was bringing onto the boat. And unfortunately, that lesbian wasn't allowed on the ship. And that's tragic.
Oh, my goodness. And, I'm sure that just came with so many implications. Oh, so the lesbian gets kicked off. So the lesbian can't bring on a deactivated landmine. You got guys dropping bombs left and right around here. Okay, here's the thing. I did have one of the most amazing moments. I did a cruise where my music partner, Major Scales, and I had a show on the cruise. And then so did Missy Pyle and Kathy Najimy. They had shows on this cruise. And on the last day of the cruise, the last night we were there, I had just quit smoking. Oh. And I don't know how it happened, but Missy Pyle and Kathy Najimy walked past me and they were like, "We're going to go smoke a cigarette on the back of the cruise ship. Do you want to join us?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm smoking again. I'm not going to pass up hanging out with Kathy Najimy." And
it doesn't count if you're doing it with Kathy Najimy.
Exactly. Everything is fair game, right? And she had the most amazing show on that cruise where she talked about her lifelong obsession with Bette Midler that eventually led to her working with Bette Midler. And to me, I was like, why are you living the life I always dreamed of, Kathy Najimy?
Well, and I'll tell you what, here's the thing about my experience doing the cruises. I do them not because they pay well and not because it is a fun experience for me as a comedian. In fact, my agents beg me not to do it because it is like so little money, so below my rate at this point, but I still do it because I love hanging out and I've met so many amazing people from all over the world. But the performing comedy on the cruise is actual torture for me. It is. They hate it. There is a certain the generation of gay men that actually go to the shows on the cruise ships, because there's like people our age who are just too hungover to go to any of the activities because they're there for the parties. And then there's like a whole generation of gay men who are on the boats who do go to the shows and are there to see the sights and go to the shows. And that generation of gay men are not interested in seeing other gay men perform. They want to see drag queens. They want to see Kathy and Jimmy doing a Bette Midler inspired
Tribute
cabaret
show,
show. Yeah. And that is it. They want to see female comedians. They want to see Joan Rivers. They do not want to see like a young gay Asian boy like myself
objectively gorgeous. Don't forget,
and
objectively gorgeous.
I've started to build that into the set, sort of tongue in cheek. I'll be like, I know you all hate me because I'm hot, and that sometimes works a little bit to get them on my
For
side.
the record, it's the opposite for me. I am putty in your hands because you're hot. I was such an outcast in high school that now that like my work allows me to interact with these beautiful people who I would have been too shy to ever talk to, 20 years ago. Now I'm like, oh my gosh, I'll do anything you say. Just wrap me in your biceps, oh my gosh, copy and paste everything you just said about cruises, and it also applies to Provincetown. And though I've never been to Fire Island, I need to assume I presume
performed
that it's
stand-up
very
on Fire
similar.
Island. It is very much the same. Like I performed with Kat Cohen, and like Kat Cohen is like an amazing cabaret performer, comedian, and who sings. And like the gay men on Fire Island ate that up. And then I get on stage and start chatting about my little gay life, and they are so uninterested. It is so wild.
It's what it is they're there for a week to party, and anything that takes them away from their partying has to be, like top notch. Not saying that our shows aren't top notch, but like they have a very narrow idea of what is worth taking a break from partying.
Well, and I do think that there is like, and I'm talking about like Gen X and Boomer gay men. I do think there is something, and I hope like if you're listening to this and you're a Gen X gay man or a Boomer gay man, like please do not come for me. I'm not trying to come for you, but I do think there is something to be said for the fact that their generation, their gay representation was Joan Rivers and Kathy Griffin, and like the gay entertainment was all coded in women in a very specific way, and they weren't used to seeing themselves represented on stage. And when they do see themselves represented on stage, it's a very defensive reaction because it's like, that's not me. Like that's, if unless you're right in line with their experience, it's really hard for them to sort of separate. And this is all just my experience performing for gay audiences.
I think that's a really astute observation.
It's tough, but people our age and below, I think they're more used to seeing a plurality of gay experiences being represented on stages and on screen and stuff like that, and so they're a little more forgiving when it doesn't align completely with their experience.
I think that's a really great observation. And it was for so long with so little representation of queer people in media and mainstream culture. For so long, it was gay male best friends, There's a list of derogatory terms for this type of female, but it's the females we can relate to, and I always felt like what makes a really great gay icon when it comes to, older women in the biz is that they have to have some form of tragedy, some kind of obstacle they've had to overcome, but then also just so much humility that they just stand on stage and make fun of themselves, and then we worship them as goddesses. Yes,
absolutely. Trauma. We want trauma.
I think that's why Judy Garland is like the end all be all of gay icons. We could see the pain and we could see the veneer covering the pain, and that's what we related to, I think. And now it's amazing that we have so much queer representation. But let's talk about this. You are objectively gorgeous. You are objectively beautiful.
I don't know.
That I have to assume, gives you some, opens some doors for you in this industry. But then you also have the fact that you are queer and a person of color, which probably has closed many doors. So where's that line that you ride as an objectively gorgeous, marginalized human being?
It's funny. It's so funny because like I've embraced it I sort of reverse engineered my hotness, I think, in a way, because when I was starting out, like I've been doing stand up for 10 years, and like the beginning part of my career, I was doing so many self-deprecating jokes about how like it was so hard for me to date because I was so unattractive and so undesirable. And like that's a really powerful place to come on stage as a comedian, because like people like to root for that. It's a much more difficult thing to do, to come on stage and be like, I'm hot and I know it and I'm powerful because of that. And like for me, I started saying shit like that before I believed it about myself and before I internalized it about myself, because I just sort of realized that like going on stage and shitting on myself and shitting on how ugly I was so detrimental to my mental health in a huge way. And it also is it's an easier sort of position to come at comedy from. It's a much harder thing to get the audience on your side when your comedic persona is like, I'm a hot idiot, because like nobody wants to root for you then. It's so much harder to get them on your side in that regard. And here's what I'll say about being a person of color, especially an Asian man in this industry coming on stage and saying like, I'm hot, I'm desirable. I think I get away with it because I don't think people actually believe it. I don't think, like, if I looked like a Sean Coney bottle, I don't think it, I don't think if I were as unimpeachably, like, inarguably hot, which I appreciate you saying I am, which I don't think I am. I'm not everybody's type. But I think it's like funnier to people because they don't believe that I am. They don't agree with me. And so I'm able to get away with it because of that. And I think it's funnier. It's like funny because I'm an Asian man and like I'm saying I'm hot and people don't necessarily believe it. And that's
fascinating.
Sort of the secret of the way I approach my comedy in that regard.
I think that's just, I'm so, I think it's wonderful of you to be able to share it so honestly and candidly, because I think, when we talk about body positivity, when we talk about, celebrating yourself, we often aren't thinking about also giving room for hot people to celebrate themselves, And that sounds really weird, but I see it all the time. It's like we want to celebrate everyone. We want to celebrate our differences. But if you're hot, you should just shut up because you don't know what it's like to be ugly. But it's like, excuse me, everything is relative, first of all. Like you don't know another person's story and you can look from the outside into their life and assume they have everything all laid out for them because they're hot and beautiful or whatever privileges they might have. And then you don't actually know what their life has been like, and you don't actually know what they're dealing with. That said, I mean, there's a lot of privileged people out there who have no idea how the world works. Right. and they can be checked in a little bit more,
I just think it was more for me, like as an Asian man, and knowing how Asian men are perceived in the culture at large, like it just felt demoralizing to go on stage every night and be like, yeah, I'm Asian and I'm undesirable and unattractive, and like having people laugh at that, which was like, it just didn't feel good after a while. And so I sort of overcorrected after a while, and like
you did some correctional writing.
I started believing it a little bit more, and then I started, I reverse engineered my self-esteem in a big way through comedy.
I think that's amazing, and I think it's really important to think of yourself, in terms of like, how do I create the comedy I want to create, but also consider my own feelings in this. There were times in the past where I would bring up stuff on stage that I was currently dealing with.
Right.
And then I realized, that happened here and there some rough moments in my life, and I'd bring it up on stage because I think if I can get everyone to laugh at it with me, and if I can laugh at it myself, it'll feel less traumatic. The problem with that is when you're asking your audience to do that with you, you're not really entertaining them. You're hosting a group therapy session.
Exactly. You have to have distance. You have to be able to have some sort of outside perspective on what you're dealing with. Because I'll tell you, frankly, like my dad just passed away.
I'm sorry to hear
like
that.
2.5 weeks ago. Thank you. And I did 2 shows yesterday where I tried to address it. Like it comedically in a way, and it sort of worked, but I realized afterwards in reflecting on it, I was like, no, like I'm still too much in my grieving process to have the distance I need to be able to joke about this effectively, because I think like it's just still obvious that I'm still like in like I'm still grieving, and I think like that makes people uncomfortable. And like I do think it will be possible to make jokes about my dad dying eventually, because I think like I'm the kind of comedian that sort of cannibalizes every part of my life for material, and I will eventually be able to talk about it. But I do think like I'm just in it right now.
Yeah.
I'm just like in it. It happened 2 weeks ago, you know, and it's just like I'm not ready to do it yet. And it took me trying to yesterday to really realize that.
Yeah. I mean, I fully believe that like the best work comes from something you've already processed.
Yeah.
Because if you're processing it on stage, you're asking your audience to do a little bit more than what a typical audience member signs up for when they buy a ticket to your comedy show, you know?
Right, absolutely.
And I've made it a rule with myself. Like one of my last touring shows, The Ginger Snapped, is largely about my relationship to alcohol. And in the show, it's like Jinkx is kind of realizing maybe she has a problem. And I only feel comfortable doing that show, you know, now a year and 9 months sober. It's like I can laugh at these horrible drunk moments from my life now because I did the work to not still be going through that. You know?
Yes.
This podcast is brought to you by Squarespace. Squarespace is the all-in-one website platform designed to help you stand out and succeed online. Whether you're just starting out or scaling your business, everybody needs a website. Otherwise, you're just out there making your business happen with what? Word of mouth? No, ma'am. If you've got a passion project that you're starting, if you want to start making drag watches that are purely ornamental, made for the sole purpose of a queen touching her wrist during lip sync when the song lyrics say, time. That idea is brilliant and needs a website. This is why you need Squarespace, because Squarespace gives you everything you need to claim your domain. Showcase your offerings with a professional website, then you can grow your brand and get paid all in one place. Plus, they have integrated SEO tools, which means search engine optimization, I think, so you can show up more often on search engines. And their Blueprint AI design tool, which can get a fully custom website built in just a few steps if you want to do the whole AI thing. Plus, you can connect your socials, set up easy ways for your customers to buy your products, and even schedule appointments with you. It's all right there on Squarespace. I've scaled a number of businesses in my time, and they have all needed websites because websites just legitimize you, you know? And Squarespace is a great spot for a creative person like me who needs to make a website and has great ideas but doesn't necessarily know the HTML, QRL, TMV of it all, you know? Because I'm not an IT whiz at all. But Squarespace makes it easy for me to select what I want and then put out a wonderful website. And it could be the same for you. You need to check out squarespace.com/drag for a free trial. And then when you're ready to launch, just use the offer code DRAG to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or a domain, which is kind of the same thing. Squarespace.com/drag.
Chime is changing the way people bank. They offer the most rewarding, fee-free banking, and it's built just for you.
I don't want to interrupt here, but I want to chime in. They're not like traditional old banks. that charge you overdraft and monthly fees. Plus, they have thousands of fee-free ATMs. There's nothing more frustrating than added fees when you're just trying to access your own money.
Exactly. So with Chime, you are not just switching banks, you are upgrading to America's #1 choice for banking with a Chime checking account.
And how about some of these benefits? All benefits here, honey. Get 5% cash back on a Chime card in a category of your choice, like gas or groceries. And you get savings that grow faster with 3.75 APY. That's 9 times higher than the national average.
And don't forget, they also have Spot Me, which lets you overdraft up to $200 fee-free.
We all need to be proactive in our own finances and understand what our money's doing, and banking can be confusing. There's so many hidden fees and policies that are different at each bank, so you have to look out for you, and with Chime you could do that.
Yes, God, and don't just settle. Find what works for you and get the perks and benefits that are beneficial to your life. Check out Chime.
Honey, I did. I'm a Chime user, and Chime is not just smarter banking, it's the most rewarding way to bank. Join the millions who are already banking fee-free today.
Head to chime.com/drag. That is chime.com/drag. It only takes a few minutes to sign up.
Chime is a fintech, not a bank. Banking services provided for MyPay and Chime Card provided by Chime Bank Partners. Optional products and services may have fees or charges. Stated annual percentage yield and cashback for Chime Prime only. No minimum balance required.
Checking account ranking based on a J.D. Power survey published October 20th, 2025. For more information on APY rates, MyPay, SpotMe, and travel perks, go to chime.com/disclosures.
So you've talked in your stand-up about being adopted by white parents and being raised evangelical, and you were homeschooled till you were 16. How has that affected your life as a gay man, and where does it find its way into your comedy?
I mean, in my early stuff, it is all over the place. I think it is a lot of introspection about like the way I grew up and the sort of the dysphoria of growing up in a white family and not being surrounded by Asian people until I was like, probably didn't meet my first Asian person until I was in middle school, you know.
Oh, wow.
And so there's a lot of baggage that comes along with that is easy to mine for comedy, like, you know, talking about, you know, the racism I experienced, and even like the little, like, my mom's side of the family is from the South. And so like, there's a lot of like, even just within my own family, the baggage that I have to deal with, that my white brother and sister don't have to deal with. And so like, it definitely, came a lot, and a lot of my comedy is very like anti-shame. Like I talk about my sex life very frankly. I talk about my partying very frankly. I talk about every aspect of my life very frankly. And I think it's because I grew up in a home where we did not talk about sex. We did not talk about real stuff. We did not talk about what was actually going on in the world or in our lives, because everything was so deeply suppressed. And so I think a lot of my comedy is a direct reaction to the way I was brought up, you know, as a Christian and things like that. And yeah, it was tough. And it was like weird I was just home for 2 weeks, dealing with stuff because of my dad's passing. And it is so wild. Like I used to be so aggressively anti-religion and sort of like, and I'm not like pro Christianity, certainly not pro evangelical Christianity yet, but it is like weird. Like it's the only thing that's keeping my mom afloat at this moment. And to see that, like, I am sort of like, well, you know what? It doesn't bring me any comfort. It doesn't like, no, like, you know, but it is certainly like something that is keeping my mom stable. And so I'm thankful for that. And so it's weird to like come full circle around like my family's religion a little bit and be like, well, I'm glad my mom has that. It doesn't do anything for me, but I'm glad my mom has that.
Well, have the religious people in your family been able to still support you in your identity, or does it cause roadblocks for you?
It definitely is very much like it's a don't ask, don't tell situation. Like my mom has never once asked like, are you dating anybody? Like, are you happy? Are you, you know, like what's going on in that facet of your life? And it was very difficult. Like I'm glad I came to this place before my dad passed, but like, you know, it was very hard for them for a while because there were so many, you realize all the things that they don't ask about, you know, like they're very uncurious about my career, because they know that like they won't approve of it. Like I don't need to hear, my parents don't need to hear how, like, you know, a story about me fisting a guy on stage, you know, like that's just not something that I don't think any parent, religious or not, would care to hear about. And so like, it's difficult because like they never were parents that would like come to my shows or watch me on, I was on a fucking NBC sitcom and they didn't even know that I was on it.
That's kind of mind blowing, you know, I feel like I was raised in an environment there were lots of little secrets. There were things that I only could talk to my grandma about and my mom couldn't know about it and vice versa. And, you know, I was raised by a little coven of witches, you know, it was mostly women raising all the kids of my generation. And so I always felt like I had 3 moms growing up, but it was a lot of little secrets. It was a lot of like lingering Catholic influence from my grandmother down. And so lots of little secrets. And it's taken a lot of like, I've kind of just had to say, fuck it, and just be open with my family these days. Because for so long, I did keep so much of myself secret because I thought, oh, they're never going to understand. And lately, it's not like they truly understand everything it means to be a trans femme, drag queen, queer person, you know, in the public eye. But they really support me. And I think it's been like one of my biggest boons in life is that my family has been able to stand behind me in all my major decisions. But yeah, it's always nerve-wracking because my material is unapologetically foul-mouthed and slutty, and I talk about myself like I'm the world's biggest slut, like my ass is a black hole that just swallows people alive. My mom comes up in a lot of my stories, and then I'll have her in the audience, and I was like having this teeny tiny panic attack one night because I told the story of my mom revealing that Santa Claus wasn't real in one of my holiday shows. And then she came to see it where I paint her as this mommy dearest Joan Crawford, like monster mom. And I didn't know how to like navigate that moment on stage. And then what happened when I was telling the story live in front of an audience and she was watching, I said, and that's the moment my mom ruined Christmas for me. And she's right over there. Like the spotlight follows and finds my mom in the audience. But then the audience started cheering for her.
Yeah.
And it was like my mom kind of reveled in this moment of like, it's me, everybody, it's me. So lately I've been finding ways to invite them in. But it's like, even to have a supportive family, it's scary to share that part of your life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we leave home and we build a chosen family. And these people have so many shared experiences. I mean, I don't assume your chosen family situation, but I have to assume, you know, you make work friends who become family. And whether it's your chosen queer family or your chosen comedy family or your chosen industry family, you know, it's hard once you
that's
become.
Gross. I don't. My chosen industry family. Oh, don't like that at all.
You know,
no.
my agent is the crotchety grandpa. But you surround yourself, you know, as a queer adult, you typically surround yourself with people who have shared experiences, and you get so used to that it's hard to then go back to the family.
Jarring. I mean, I haven't been home for Christmas in like a decade.
Oh, wow.
And because I spend it with chosen family and same with Thanksgiving. Like, I go home and visit, but like twice a year, and like I see them. And it was so jarring to be home for 2 weeks extended and just like realize all of the different things that like I missed about having my family,
Mm-hmm.
and all of the sort of places that my chosen queer family has really like filled in the blanks, you know, like because they're like, I love my family, but they just can't be everything for me. And that's what, you know, and it's really hard to come to terms with that. And it's really hard, even harder to make it not a judgment, an intrinsic judgment on them, on my mom or my parents as like parents, you know, or
absolutely.
it's just, you know, like some families just, you fill in the gaps where you can with your chosen family, and that's what I've done. And I don't think it means anything negative about my own family. It's just
No.
not every family can be everything.
One of the, I wasn't expecting to learn this life lesson in acting school, but one lesson I learned from one of my favorite teachers in acting school is somehow stuff about my mom. Like I went to college right after high school, and my high school years were my most difficult years with my mother, where our relationship was really, really strained. And a lot of that came up in my like introspective work in acting school, and we're like having a circle jerk of emotions, And one teacher just said to me, have you ever considered that maybe there was someone else in your life who was your mom, and your mom, even though she gave birth to you, filled a different role in your life? And I realized then my mom may have given birth to me, but at many moments in my life, she felt more like an older sister.
Yeah.
And like my grandma was kind of raising both of us. And I can talk about this now. I feel okay talking about this now because my mom has done a lot of work on herself, and we're at this really great place. She's at this really great place. Again, so it's like I feel like comfortable to bring it up because we're not currently going through it.
Mm-hmm.
But learning that kind of also cracked open a lot of stuff for me. Like just because we've been told something our whole life does not make it true.
Right.
Just because we've been told that if you're born with a penis, you're male and that's it. And then the only way to become a woman is to have your penis removed. That's all false. That's all just what we've been told, And learning those kind of things in your adulthood kind of, just blows your mind open.
It's a paradigm shift for sure.
Absolutely. And then it's like, how much more fun is life when you realized that there's no parents and there's no rules, and
Exactly.
you get to make it up as you go. Let's take a hard left turn and talk about your career some.
Okay.
Because, you're everywhere these days. You've been a stand-up comedian, and now you're having all this mainstream media success. We see you on network television. Shall I read some of your...
Please don't. I feel like the last year has been so depressing career-wise because like nothing's been happening for anybody. But
what I will say to our listeners is you have a phone, you have a magic wand in your hand, Google Joel Kim Booster because you have a very impressive dossier. But I want to know, what was the transition like from stand-up comedy, which is just inherently more indie, more, underground.
DIY.
Yeah. And then now you're working with network television, you're working in writers' rooms. What has that transition been like for you? And do you have a preference now that you've tried both?
I will always want to do stand up as long as I have something interesting to say.
Mm-hmm.
I do think there are a lot of famous stand-ups that get to a point where they're continuing to do stand-up and they don't have anything interesting to say anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I think that happens. I think that some people get to a point where they're so rich and so outside of real life that they no longer have anything relatable to say. And I think that it's total. And when I get to that point, I hope I realize it. I hope I get to that point. Honestly, I hope I get to the point where I'm so rich that I am no longer
Who needs it?
2 feet on planet Earth anymore. But I'll always, no matter how much success I get, I will want to do stand up. Hopefully, I will say that like my experience doing that network sitcom Sunnyside was really nice because
I really loved your character.
Oh, thank
on
you
that.
so much.
Yeah,
I had a blast doing it, and they really let us sort of create those characters.
Yeah,
Have a hand in creating those characters. I mean, like they really like they cast me, and they sort of was like, this is your vibe, and like they let us, me and Poppy, who played my sister on that show, really take control of like the direction that those characters took. So I didn't feel like I was sacrificing anything. I didn't feel like I was like watering myself down to be on an NBC sitcom. Like it was as close to me and my sort of vibe as it could be on network TV. And so that felt really great. And that it spoiled me a little bit because, I've gotten other offers and I've done other projects since then that have been more mainstream, and it is tougher to sort of take a step back and let somebody else be in the driver's seat of your material in a big way. In terms of writing, I find it very easy to go in and like be a workhorse for somebody else's vision. I don't have a lot of ego when it comes to being in somebody else's, like working on Big Mouth for the last 3 years, like has been really great and really fun and really collaborative. And like you come in and you just like, you shoot the shit and talk about your childhood for a while. And then eventually you get to the point where the scripts are written and you're just punching up and pitching jokes and you're servicing somebody else's big idea. And that feels really, it's like humbling and it's fun. And, there will come a point, hopefully in the future, where I will be in the position where people will be servicing me and my vision.
Yeah.
And I hope that, people are similarly like game to do that for me. But I love it.
Yeah, I do find, I think the biggest lesson I learned in art school was if there's not work out there for you, create your own work.
Yeah.
If you aren't getting role offers because there aren't the right roles for you out there, then create those roles. And it's easier said than done.
That's why I
course,
started doing stand-up in the first place. I wanted to be an actor first, and this was back in like 2011, and I was like getting called in to be Chinese food delivery boys and like lab technicians on Chicago Fire. And I was like, none of this is interesting. None of this feels like me. None of this like is something that this is not the vision that I had for myself as an artist, was like being a Chinese food delivery boy over and over and over again. And so I started doing stand-up because I was like, let me just create this other person that I can be on stage and fulfill this need that I have. And it worked, because now like I'm getting hired because of that person that I've created on stage, not necessarily the other way around. Like people come to me and say like, we like this person that you've created and we want to put that in this situation. And so like it worked. Like I looked up really heavily to people like Mindy Kaling and Kumail Nanjiani and people like that who like were in similar positions. I mean, Mindy, like I had never, say what you will about The Office now, like in hindsight, but like that character, I had never seen an Asian character quite like Kelly Kapoor. And when I found out that like it was Mindy Kaling who like drove that character and like was in the writer's room saying like, this is the character that I want to create, I was like, that's inspiring to me. And I was like, oh, I guess I need to not be an actor. I need to be a writer. And like really figure out how to create those opportunities for myself and not wait around for some white guy to get it right.
Yeah. I mean, that's huge. I mean, I really love just being an actor and just showing up and delivering the lines. That's a lot of fun. Yeah. And then all the costumes are decided for you, and you just get to show up and be, talent. And I really love that. But I do, there are moments where I have to be like, just so you know, no one in my demographic would ever say this. Like, can we talk a little bit about what actually gets said in these moments? Or, there's definitely, I think, when a new demographic is gaining representation in mainstream media, there's this natural progression where it starts out as the archetype, and they start out as like, they come in, they're an archetype, they say a catchphrase or a one-liner that really like nails it on the head, like, oh, that's what you expect from this person, and then they disappear. And then we get to like letting them actually have a story arc and letting them actually kind of tell their story. And then when I feel like we're at a new place of representation is when that person gets to be kind of horrible.
Yeah. Yeah.
When that person representing that demographic gets to show us like, oh, remember that we're also human beings, and human beings are not perfect shining examples of anything.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I think that's what was really enjoyable about Mindy's character on The Office, which is absolutely a guilty pleasure of mine.
Exactly. And it's such a fine line between like, because I still get called in for like officious like assistant, and officious is just another word for faggot in
Yeah.
like the breakdown. Like that's the word that they're using. Yeah, fastidious
Fussy.
assistant. Yeah, fussy. Exactly. Those are the breakdowns that you're getting, and like it's set, and like those are so boring in a special way. But then you do get called in for these like idealistic gay, like perfect, like there to be like the shining example of what's good and what's right in this world that of the show, whatever show you're getting called in for. And it's like, well, that's an overcorrect. That's like boring. That's so boring. Like that's just as two-dimensional as the fussy assistant.
Yeah.
And it's not interesting.
Yeah, I find that, like, first of all, I think it's amazing that there have been a handful of auditions that I've been given that this is a non-binary character written for a non-binary person to play. But it almost is always like this mystical sage, like, because I'm not weighed down by gender, I can see the truth that you have missed, you know? And it's like what happens half the time when I do these auditions, and, you know, I've yet to land that big role, but sometimes I will do the audition for the non-binary person, but then I will say, have you considered that maybe this other character doesn't need to be strictly masculine or feminine? Have you considered that maybe, you know, like I'll say, like, there's a demon in this show. Who says the demon has to fit into gender norms? You know?
Right.
Like, there's a genie. If anyone's gonna be like let the non-binary person play the genie, and let let someone else be the sage-wise mystic, you know? I want to know, you talked a little bit about your very frank talking about sexuality in your work. This is something I kind of just made a decision one day. Like, I'm going to stop holding back when it comes to talking about sex, because almost everything that was holding me back about sex was something I had learned, something I was like conditioned to believe is true, when actually, like, what is wrong with being a sexually active person? Like, what is wrong with having sex with multiple different people in a year? What, like, we are not living in the 50s. I do not raise a nuclear family. Like, there's no reason for me to worry about how much sex I'm having. How has the reaction to your sex positivity in your own work been?
You know, it's funny. Like, when I was starting out, the conventional wisdom for gay comics at the time, especially where I was at in Chicago, was like, do not go blue, because the last thing an audience wants to be reminded of is the fact that you're having sex. They don't want to think about you having anal sex. They just don't. And it'll turn the audience away from you immediately. Don't work blue. And that's what everyone told me when I was starting out. And like, it just felt so limiting and so annoying. And so it was a bit of an overcorrect when I started talking about sex, really frankly. But for me, it's not about like saying like my life is like is so out there and so sexual, and like the sex that I'm having is so different and funny. It's not. It's finding the universal experience of within, like, we all have sex. I mean, other than my gray ace brothers and sisters,
yes,
and NBs. You know, there are, but for a lot of people, sex is an experience that we all share. And so, like, even though like my story might be about a guy coming in my eye and giving me pink eye, you know, like that, there's got to be something that every audience can relate to within that experience of having come in my eye and giving me pink eye. And so I'm gonna find it and I'm gonna bring it. And here's the thing, like, I don't perform it only in LA and New York. I'm going to, like, one of my favorite clubs is in Bloomington, Indiana, you know, like Madison, Wisconsin, you know, Kansas City, like places where like it's not necessarily bastions of like gay, you know, queer spaces. Like, and so like I've had to make it work. And the thing is like, people, when it's funny and you find that universality, people will laugh. No matter what. And that's what I've found. And like, it doesn't have to be alienating if you're confident, if you're not apologizing for it. Like that, because the audience senses the fear. The audience will sense the fear like 10 steps ahead of you before you even get to the punchline. And so that's what I've had to really learn about it, is just to like go in and unapologetically and not be afraid to touch on those aspects of my life. And like they want, most audiences are just want you to be funny.
Yeah.
They really do. They're
Just
not,
make me laugh.
they're not rooting against you, And so like I think if you can find the stuff that is universal in the very specific way we have sex, then like it works all the time. It works almost always.
Yeah.
I find that the people that are most offended by some of my material are gay people. Like, I think a lot of respectability politics come into play when like they're like, well, you're a well-known gay, like you're out there representing us, and is this how you want to represent us, as oversexed and slutty and blah 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 blah. And it's like, well, I believe that there are other gay comedians out there who aren't, and I believe that like my audiences are smart enough to know that I'm not speaking and not representing an entire community.
Well,
and
absolutely.
I never asked to be.
No one person should be speaking for an entire community, because every community is so multifaceted. One. And two, it's like, why should we, I've dealt with this a lot being a drag queen for 18 years. I dealt with the stigma before Drag Race existed, and people telling me that performing in drag was holding our community back, and I'm like, but actually it's always been there and it's a part of our community. So why aren't we allowed to share this, And one of the things I love about the queer community is the ability to talk about sex, like just a fact of life, you know, and also to leave room and understanding for people who, like you said, like asexual people who sex isn't a big part of their life, but they still have a relationship to it.
Yeah.
Like they still know what it is. They still know that it exists. And there are universal things that can speak to people who aren't having sex, because they've probably dealt with people putting their preconceived notions on them. When I started really like just telling my stories on stage, like I used to put a lot more like veils over it and, tell a fictionalized version of the story. And now I just fully tell my audiences about the time a guy lost a condom up my butt, And the moral of the story at the end is, I asked how that happened because it had never happened to me before. And in retrospect, I'm like, it's so clear. The guy had whiskey dick and his dick lost the condom. That's that. Like that's what happened. But he told me at the time that my ass was too tight. And I said, wait a second, isn't that the point? Like, who's fucking loose assholes? That's
no one's losing condoms and loose assholes.
Isn't it a good thing my ass was tight? And the moral of the story at the end is like, I'm not going to let someone blame me for something they did to me, and I think that's something we can all relate to in terms of sex. But I had to ask myself, like, because I do look out into my audience and I'm like, sometimes I'll get thrown off because I'm like, oh no, is that person offended? Did I just offend that person? Should I like find a way to apologize to this person on stage? I get really in my head sometimes. But then I had to ask myself, who is most likely to be offended by me talking about sex? People who are still clinging on to things that our religion has taught us or that our society has taught us. And am I really that afraid of offending them?
Right.
I am actually not worried if what you are is just trying to silence me, then go ahead and be offended, Yeah. There's no refunds at this point, you can't. And I've had some people walk out. I had like an 80-year-old woman walk out of my show once. It was her birthday and she was like, this is just not how I wanted to spend my birthday.
And you know what? God bless her. She shouldn't have to.
But yeah, you kind of, conviction goes a long way in this industry, especially with comedy, I think. I'm so enamored with you. I think you're just doing God's work out there.
God bless you.
I really love watching your star rise. Now I have some questions for you that have nothing to do with anything. Are you ready for them?
Please. Yes.
Who's your celebrity crush?
Manny Jacinto.
Oh my God, he's one of mine. I
Yeah.
have new ones every episode. But
Oh my God, yes. He's
Jeez Louise.
just everything. And he's so nice too. We met we were forced together a lot during my NBC days, and he's just like the kindest guy. And I have a couple of videos on YouTube where people say that I look like him, and it is the greatest compliment I've ever received, is to be compared to Manny Jacinto, because his cheekbones
He's just an Adonis.
Yeah, he makes me look like I have jowls comparing our cheekbones. And I
You
love
can
it.
cut ice on almost any part of him. You know?
Yeah. Ugh.
Oh, he's so gorgeous. And then that character on The Good Place.
Yeah.
I've always had a soft spot for just hot idiots, you know?
Yes.
If they have a good heart, I don't care how dumb you are if you have a good heart. You know? I just what a fabulous show that was, but he was definitely one of the reasons to watch. I always say someone different, but today I'm going to say my celebrity crush is Jared Goldstein, because he just did an Instagram takeover.
Yes, I saw. Did you see the picture he posted
the thirst
recently?
trap, and it's like, well, guess what I've been doing during quarantine? Just becoming freaking shredded.
Outrageous. We were on a cruise together, Jared and I.
Oh my goodness.
And I did not see any of that on the cruise.
I loved how matter of fact he was doing a live on my Instagram, and like all his friends were popping up just to ask him about like, so what's all this about your abs all of a sudden? And he was like, yeah. He was just so like matter of fact, like, yeah, aren't I so gorgeous? Like, wow, like who knew? I love him. So he's my celebrity crush right now. I want to ask, our listeners don't know this, but you're wearing a SeanCody.com t-shirt, which I absolutely love, because a middle school bully of mine ended up doing Sean Cody. So there's something kind of magical about seeing someone who used to torment you take it up the ass. I don't know. And then I felt like able to forgive him. I was like, is this why you were mean to me? Is because you were sad that I was living my queer life while you were repressing your desire to bottom like a lovely little he was such a good bottom too. Anyway,
I recently met the first Asian Sean Cody model.
Oh, yeah?
Recently. Yeah. I think Dale, he went by Dale then, and he's Jacob Ethan Dale now on OnlyFans, and he's a lovely human. And I was like, what a trailblazer. Like, somebody needs to tell your story to be Asian on
You
Sean
can write
Cody.
the one-man show.
Yeah.
I want to know, what's your favorite porn scene of all time?
My favorite porn scene of all time. Wow. That's a really tough one. I'm a big proponent of porn on Twitter, and so like I'm trying to think of like something that I've seen recently that really got me going.
I love this new era of self-produced porn. You know, I think it's brilliant, but my favorite, maybe this will strike an idea in you. Have you ever seen Oliver Twink?
No.
It's one of the most amazing parodies. This drag queen Misty Eyes, who does wonderful makeup and drag tutorials on YouTube, is in it as Nancy. But of course, the scene that matters most to me is Oliver Twink is on his knees. Mr. Bumble comes all over him, and he looks up at the camera and says, Please, sir, I want some more. It's so fucking brilliant. How do you get better than that?
I think one of my favorite scenes probably is Aspen gets hypnotized. I'm really into like hypnotism in porn. I think it's so hot. And it's just like,
is this Aspen the famous gay for pay straight male model?
Yeah, I think
Does
so.
he have the tattoo on his arm that says Aspen?
Yeah.
So I've been following him for a while because I just adore him.
He's bottoming a ton now in porn.
It's like his big story is that he's a straight guy who does gay for pay porn and is just chill with it and loves it, you know? I know that, I think you have to deconstruct some of society's expectations of you to be a
Right.
straight man who takes it up the ass. And I kind of just love that.
Yeah.
Aspen gets hypnotized. How's the acting?
I mean, pretty
if
bad.
you had to give it a star rating.
Pretty bad. I would say it is, it's definitely like a 68% on Rotten Tomatoes.
I love porn acting for the things that like watching people pretend they can't see people having sex right next to them is probably my favorite thing about porn today. I want to give you a chance to promote anything you've got going on. Plug away.
Okay. I have a podcast of my own called Urgent Care, which is an advice podcast that I do with one of my very good friends, Mitra Johari, that people can download now. They can check out, any of my stuff on YouTube. My Comedy Central special is available. There's a lot of stuff that I can't talk about yet, which is crazy. I know. I wish there was more, and I'm not just saying that because I feel sad. Yeah, just check out, my Instagram and I Hate Joel Kim, all of my handles and stuff like that.
If you are like me and you're terrible with names, but the second you see a face and you're like, oh my gosh, I've seen Joel Kim Booster everywhere. I got to meet you. We met for the first time,
In San Francisco
for
Clusterfest.
Clusterfest.
Yes.
That was such a I felt like I loved doing the Culturistas
the I Don't
podcast.
Think So, Honey.
Yes, I loved doing that. My staged reading was kind of a crazy thing. We five
We
drag
did
queens
Spice
did
Girls, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I was a big part in that as well.
What was crazy about is they had 5 famous drag queens portraying the Spice Girls as we did the live staged reading of the movie Spice World. And in the moment, while we're performing this in front of an audience, we realize that the Spice Girls have almost no lines in that movie. So all the supporting cast is sitting off stage while 5 famous drag queens just sit on stage and do nothing for almost like an hour and a half.
And Bianca was narrating it, and I remember it was going on so long. The Comedy Central people kept
Just hours of us.
sending Bianca notes, being like, "Skip to page so and so, like skip ahead, because there was just not enough.
So much time of just the 5 of us just sitting there, and then it's like these amazing performers are sitting off stage giving these really great performances, but the audience can't see them. They're just watching the drag queens on stage sitting there doing nothing. I had to sit in a beanbag as Ginger Spice, and it was the most uncomfortable thing I've ever done in drag. But it was worth it to go to the after party and party with all you comedians afterwards, because next to drag queens, you want to know people who can drink? Stand-up comedians.
Yeah.
Y'all can drink. Y'all are almost your honorary drag queens just from the way you party after a show. It was an amazing experience, and you're an amazing person. So thank you so much for being on.
I had an absolute blast. A delight.
Thank you. Me too. What a delight. Everyone, I want to thank you so much for listening to Hi Jinkx here on the Forever Dog and Moguls of Media Network. My name is Jinkx Monsoon, and we have new episodes every Wednesday, so make sure to search for Hi Jinkx on your favorite podcast app and hit subscribe. You can follow me at The Jinkx on Instagram or Jinkx Monsoon everywhere else, and that's spelled Jinkx. You have to use the K because I paid extra for it. Now, I'll see you next Wednesday for some more Hi Jinkx. Thank you, Joel.
Thank you, Jinkx.
Forever Dog.
To listen to Hi Jinkx ad-free and 1 day early, sign up for Forever Dog Plus at foreverdogpodcasts.com/plus. Make sure to follow at Forever Dog Team and at Mom Podcasts on social, and rate and review Hi Jinkx 5 stars on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts. Hi Jinkx is produced by Forever Dog and Moguls of Media, aka Mom, hosted by me, Jinkx Monsoon, produced by Big Dipper, editing and sound design by Will Pitts, executive produced by Willem Belli, Alaska Thunderfuck, Brett Boehm, Joe Cilio, and Alex Ramsey.